And I'm going to go all the way down to our spaces, and we'll take a look at those. So I'll come back and end with this right here, because those are some book shelving that we're looking at. And we'll start here at the upstairs library. So this is the, from the physical plan, this is what I was offered as far as the blueprints for the library. You can see the L shape here, and you can already see there's some really interesting things to work with here. We have this little nook over here that has these three just begging to be interactive conference spaces. So 1, 2, 3 projection spaces right there, and then maybe this nook right here also becomes kind of a interactive place for the little ones to sit, and we can project up on the wall right there, which we already do a lot of that. And then you have wall 1, wall 2, and wall 3. All of those could be projectionable spaces, and you could add a fourth wall here if you put blackouts, and the blackouts could double as a screen space as well. You can tell I like this idea of Fahrenheit 451 making the video wall room. Okay, so here is the just kind of a mock-up of like how we were thinking of what a tech bar system might look like based on the actual projectors that we would want to invest in. And then on the projectors, I can go into that at finer detail later, but what I would suggest is sort of a low-end projector, and then maybe a couple of high-end projectors for events. But as far as like what we would be using in a daily basis, something that you could just walk over and clamp in, and then these might be where your tech bars are laid out, and then that would make anything on this wall projectionable. Anywhere where you see these yellow highlight spaces, all of that would become potentially projectable material there. Okay, hopefully that gives a little bit of a blueprint. And let me scroll down here, and we'll look at the physical spaces themselves. So here we are looking at those 3 wall spaces. Ideally, this is fine. These projectors, I mean, these flat screens are great. So we could just go with 3 flat screens, or we could just use this as like a whiteboard material and then pull a screen down and have it be a projection space as well. And then this again, we can work with it as it is, or we could try to take up more of this block here and make it a projection space too. These tessellating tables are fantastic, although I'll go into what I would recommend here for caster wheels later, where they can become mobile pieces and then connect in different forms. But here you see a basic typical classroom layout where we might have a direct instruction and you might have some interactivity going on, but then of course you could group these tables differently to promote different kinds of human interaction. And you can see over here a makeshift projection space, but you can also see the cables that we're dragging along the floor, which is definitely not something we want to, for safety of kids and stuff, that's not what we want to get into. Again, this this greenish blue teal, what color is this? This wall here could become a projectionable space. I think the idea is that the bookshelves would go onto wheels. Like this one over here is an older model that I found that we pulled out of storage that we're using as a poetry section to make more room on the stacks there. But this wall could easily become projectionable space as well, either working with these blinds or laying out something else that would be pull down. Just like a massive pull down in different segments might be nice as well. And then that becomes a potential projection space there too. So this is the long wall. This is super exciting because that could become another giant projectionable space. So if you're imagining a bar going across here and then some magic arms, I mean, I'm not talking about super high-end projection, but in that other classroom that I had designed, those are blending projectors. And so they're not real mobile. They stay put, but then we take one image and just stretch it across the whole thing. What I'm thinking more here is like museum work, student presentations, making these different teaching and learning spaces as well, and using the projection from the ceiling to take advantage of that surface there. Here is where there could be blackouts. It could be left as it is, or this could be blackouts installed, and those blackouts could double as screen space as well. Let's keep going. So this is the kind of thing I'm talking about, is like you need a circle talk area or a classroom space where this is where we do a lot of storytelling with the little ones. So we might gather here at the beginning of class, have a very quick intro to storytelling before they go off to select books. But this is actually something we're going to be moving downstairs soon. So here is a little nook that we made into a projection area, and so this is where we do a lot of live book writing. The year ones go on a nature walk, and then we bring the images in and we write on top of them and make a book in live time there. This is jumping ahead, but this is downstairs, and this is more physical remaking, but we're going to make this into kind of a black box interactive theater, which doesn't require a lot of purchasing of anything. It just requires making a circle of chairs, designating a stage space in the center, and then your storytelling is done through more of a theater setting. On the back wall there, again, this is jumping ahead, but we were thinking this is going to be physical makerspace, and that means that things like this shelving come into key play there, because those are materials we can just pull out and kids can physically make things. Cardboard, Play-Doh, all the physical hard making could go on there. On the left there, the idea for that is maybe documentation wall, and so that would be a projection that is just in constantly running, showing off all the cool things that we're doing in the space. This area here seems to scream for very chill reading area, maybe even for a classroom reading here, but this would be where you put a few soft chairs and kids can go kind of chill out and read in this area. And I already see they kind of gravitate towards this area. It's very cavey. Again, here is a view of that potential documentation wall, and that might mean trying to either permanently install a projector up here on the top, or working with some kind of magic arm system where you drop a projector in there. And then this room here, what we were thinking is a storytelling space. So on the other side, you'd have the physical making of storytelling things. This would be the digital making of storytelling things, and thinking audio recording, podcasting, photography, short film making. That could all happen in this space with whatever digital materials we have. So we can work with the iPads now, and in the future, maybe we want to look at getting iMacs and other higher end things in there, especially while I'm here, since I know how to teach all of those things, or teach with all of those things. This is a wall where we're looking at shelving. And so opening up more shelving spaces seems to be an issue. You can see that we've already installed the shelves that were in the glass closet into this closet space here. And they spec'd out, the carpenter came over and measured this at what it would look like to have sort of a staircase-like shelving made out of wood there. And then inside the closet, mirroring the dimensions of this metal shelving, we spec'd out what wooden shelving would look like that would also fit the slanting roof area there, maximizing what we would consider the reserves library. That just means like multiple copies of books, teaching materials. It's all accessible to kids, but it's like when the book is not on the shelf, then they can go pull it from the reserves, but we don't want to have 6 copies of the same book on the shelves out in the front. Moving around, you can see a little bit of wall damage here that we need to tend to, but this would also be more for infant learning section. So books on the floor in bins that they can access, or on small tables here, and then soft seating around there where they can sit and read there. And then this is a great view of these book bins that were installed previously. And you can see that area that I was talking about making a theater. Those posts set a very nice perimeter for what could be, the idea would be a kind of black box theater, and then maybe in the future we look at a little bit of track lighting up here, and we could actually do like dramatic lighting for different storytelling events. Okay, so what are some of the physical things? I am not your designer, so I don't know how to install all these things. I know what I'm looking at when I see it, and I'll sort of point in the direction of some of the smarter things. That some of these are a little bit higher end. However, it depends on how far you want to go with this idea of the ceiling reprogrammable features. So these are the Unistrut supports. And then those lend themselves to the tracking idea, where you can put trackers in here and roll things back and forth. You can see that the Manfrotto Rails, this is another high-end thing, but these are great for any kind of studio stuff where you want to be dropping lighting in, but you want them to be movable across the ceiling. And then, of course, my favorite feature is this idea of the magic arm. Such a simple thing, but this is pretty amazing because it makes your projector into this thing that you can just put anywhere, on the side of a table, on a post, hanging from a beam in the ceiling. The projector truly becomes like a mobile piece. And then these are the retractable power cables. Yeah, so these are pretty self-explanatory. I have used these. They're amazing. You need to set up a quick workspace in that NYU ITP area. If we needed to create a soldering space, we simply pulled one of these overs, dropped it down, put it into a different multiple socket thing, and then we had all of our electricity there. The caster wheels, there are multiple forms, so you do want to be a little bit careful on these. One, making sure you get a kind that you can mount to the bottom of our tables that we have here. That is possible. I've seen several different forms of how that happens. And then you also want to match the weight of what you're putting on these to make sure that you're not putting anything too heavy, and then you can downsize on them if you're just looking at tables. If they're going on the bottom of bookshelves and things, of course, you want to get more industrial strength ones. All right. Well, there's much more to this. I think that gives you a little rundown of the thinking that we have done up to now in the library space. If you have further questions, I would gladly be a part of any committee or team that would like to go further with this. If you just want more ideas from me, I'm open to talking about it anytime. Like I say, this is not something that one person owns. This is something you want to put into your school culture to promote this idea of the social construction around learning, but also this malleability of space lends itself to be the vocabulary of your teaching philosophy, if that makes sense. I see this in the IB everywhere. And so if we're looking for specific UOIs of where this kind of work would come into play in library spaces, I can already see how it maps out in several places. Okay, I talk a lot. Sorry about that.